Taiwan industries reel from tariff tsunami. Taoyuan mayor's wealth sparks spotlight. Taiwan joins U.S. Northern Strike drill. Ukraine's Zelensky meets Trump at White House. South Korean and U.S. militaries begin summer drills. Intel shares jump as SoftBank buys $2 billion stake in chip giant. U.S. State Department revokes 6,000 student visas. James Bond has to be a guy.
Hello, I'm CJ. Thank you for joining us on FUNDAY News. It is Wednesday, August 20th, World Mosquito Day. And here are your top stories. And for today's Taiwan news, Taiwan's traditional industries face a tariff tsunami as U.S. imposes 20% plus duties. Bike fork maker Yuhua will cease operations by end 2025. Following Ruishan Metal's closure, the firm will hold production on December 31st, offering inventory at 40% off. Export-driven sectors hit by tariffs and currency gains are taking the hardest blow. Taiwan's Control Yuan disclosed assets of 6 city mayors. Taoyuan Mayor Zhang Shanzhen holds over 100 million NT dollar, excluding real estate. Deputy Mayor Su Jinping bought nearly 200 million Japanese yuan in Tokyo and Osaka properties. Zhang, with 5 land plots, 1 building, and stocks worth 5.53 million NT dollar in trust, avoided comment, focusing instead on a musical festival. Over 500 Taiwanese troops joined the U.S. Northern Strike exercise in Michigan. Stars and Stripes reported on August 18th. The drill, held annually with nearly all U.S. services, shifted this year from European to Indo-Pacific scenarios. Analysts noted last year's live-fire drone test, highlighting closer U.S.-Taiwan military cooperation amid rising regional tensions. And in global news, the optics could not have been more different this time. Unlike the shockingly ill-tempered previous meeting in February, U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky seemed determined not to appear confrontational, despite their remaining differences. Zelensky wore a collared suit and Trump complimented his attire. The Ukrainian president also repeatedly said thank you, which must have pleased his host as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I can, first of all, thank you for invitation and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States.
Zelensky spoke little, or perhaps he was not keen to, fearing that what he had to say differed from what Trump wanted to hear. Differences emerged later, when the U.S. and Ukrainian presidents appeared before journalists alongside European leaders. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and French President Emmanuel Macron both said a ceasefire in Ukraine should be the next step, even though Trump argued that it was not necessary before a more permanent solution was found. Zelensky remained conspicuously quiet on the issue. What we heard from the leaders suggests that their discussions behind closed doors focused on security guarantees for Ukraine and the prospects of a meeting between Zelensky and Putin.
South Korea and the U.S. began their annual large-scale joint military exercise to better cope with threats from nuclear-armed North Korea, which has warned that the drills would deepen regional tensions and vowed to respond to any provocation against its territory. The 11-day Yuchi Freedom Shield, the second set of exercises held annually in South Korea after another round in March, will involve 21,000 soldiers, including 18,000 South Koreans, in computer-simulated command, post-operations, and field training.
The drills, which the Allies describe as defensive, could trigger a response from North Korea, which has long portrayed the exercises as invasion rehearsals and has often used them as a pretext for military demonstrations and weapons tests aimed at advancing its nuclear program. Ulchi Freedom Shield comes at a pivotal moment for South Korea's new liberal president, Lee Jae-myung, who is preparing for an August 25th summit with U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. Trump has raised concerns in Seoul that he may shake up the decades-old alliance by demanding higher payments for the American troop presence in South Korea and possibly reducing it as Washington shifts its focus more toward China.
Intel shares jumped after Japanese technology investment giant SoftBank said it is buying a $2 billion stake in the U.S. computer chip maker. The announcement came just hours after new reports that the Trump administration is in talks to take a stake of around 10% in Intel by converting government grants into shares. The potential deal aims to help Intel build a flagship manufacturing hub in Ohio. At the time, a White House spokesman said the reports should be regarded as speculation, unless officially announced.
The investment comes as both Intel and SoftBank deepen their commitment to investing in advanced technology and semiconductor innovation in the United States. Intel shares rose more than 5% in after-hours trading in New York on Monday. Last week, U.S. President Donald Trump and members of his cabinet met Intel chief executive Lip Bu Tan. The meeting came just days after Trump called for Mr. Tan to resign, accusing him of being highly conflicted due to his earlier ties to China. The developments come as the U.S. chip industry faces intense scrutiny from the White House. Some analysts have described Intel's potential deal with the U.S. government as a lifeline for the firm.
The State Department has revoked more than 6,000 international student visas because of violations of U.S. law and overstays. The agency said the vast majority of the violations involved assault, driving under the influence, burglary, and support for terrorism. While the State Department did not specify what it meant by support for terrorism, the Trump administration has targeted some students who protested in support of Palestine, arguing they had engaged in anti-Semitic behavior.
The State Department said about 4,000 of those visas were revoked because visitors broke the law. Another 200 to 300 visas were also revoked for terrorism under INA 3B, referring to a code that broadly defines terrorist activity as acts that endanger human life or violate U.S. law. Earlier this year, the Trump administration paused scheduling visa appointments for international students. In June, when appointments resumed, officials announced that all applicants would be required to make their social media accounts public for enhanced screening. They said they would search for any indications of hostility toward the citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles of the United States.
Dame Helen Mirren has said that James Bond should be played by a man, even though she describes herself as such a feminist. In a new interview with Sega magazine, the Oscar-winning actress said, "You can't have a woman. It just doesn't work. James Bond has to be James Bond. Otherwise, it becomes something else." Amazon MGM Studios will produce the next installment of the spy franchise, with Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight set to write what will be the 26th film in the series.
The U.S. production and distribution company previously said it was planning a fresh take on the franchise but would honor the legacy of the iconic character. Dame Helen is currently starring opposite former James Bond actor Pierce Brosnan in the much-anticipated film adaptation of The Thursday Murder Club, in which she plays a retired spy. Brosnan also told the magazine that he believed a male actor should continue to play Bond and that he was excited to see a whole new exuberance and life for this character. He starred in 4 Bond films during his tenure as 007, beginning with GoldenEye in 1995 and ending with Die Another Day in 2002. The two actors are not the first to push back on the idea of a woman playing Bond.
The answer for yesterday was C, surpass. She worked hard to surpass her previous achievements. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into today's news. U.S. State Department revokes 6,000 student visas. Revoke, 撤销, 废除. After the review, the committee chose to revoke the award. Engage, 参与, 吸引. He engages in volunteer work every weekend. Indication, 标示, 表明. Her smile was a clear indication of her happiness. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. World Mosquito Day was first established in 1897, when the link between mosquitoes and malaria transmission was discovered by Sir Ronald Ross. It aims to raise awareness about the causes of malaria and how it can be prevented, as well as fundraising for research into the cure of malaria. It is also a salute to the groundbreaking work of Sir Ross and scientists who have followed him. And that's all for today's FUNDAY news. Be sure to tune into FUNDAY News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join FUNDAY for free. I'm CJ, your host. I will see you next time.